man is dead after what SDPD is calling a domestic dispute in City Heights. The latest on what we know.
A call to action after an alarming number of tenants and property managers report a safety crisis in rentals.
Ongoing anger and concern over California's decision to regulate new tire sales. Why one Republican state lawmaker is calling for resignations.
Any business that's been around for 30 years is a success, and that's exactly what Surf Diva is celebrating, the 30th anniversary.
We begin tonight with developing news out of the City Heights area where a murder investigation is underway right now. And tonight, we know a woman is in custody. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Stephanie Simmons in tonight for Marcella. It was reported late this morning on 39th Street between University and Polk Avenues. News 8's Alex Cheney joins us live now, not far from there, with what we know tonight. Alex.
Yes, Stephanie, I'm just across the street from the house here where SDPD tells us a domestic dispute this morning turned into a brutal murder. The call came in around 11:30 this morning on 39th Street in City Heights. And around 3:30, the coroner brought the body out. SDPD says the victim is a 33-year-old male and the suspect is a female who is now detained. They are believed to have had a romantic relationship. A neighbor who asked not to be on camera told me the couple have a young daughter.
I feel very sad. I feel very sad because we see each other every morning. So I know we cannot see each other at all, and it is very sad for them, like a neighbor.
SDPD has yet to reveal the method of killing. The investigation continues as next of kin is now being notified. Reporting live from City Heights, I'm Alex Cheney. Back over to you.
Thanks, Alex. Former acting U.S. Attorney Andrew Hayden was found dead inside the downtown Federal Building this week. San Diego police responded to the building Wednesday, just hours after the 48-year-old was reported missing. Hayden had been with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California since 2010 and served twice as acting U.S. Attorney. The medical examiner's office will determine the official cause and manner of death.
There are rising concerns tonight among people who manage rental properties after 3 separate violent incidents across San Diego, including a landlord's daughter who was allegedly killed by a tenant in Chula Vista.
News 8's Abby Black reports on a new survey that reveals just how widespread this problem has become.
Just this week, police say a man was murdered after he was trying to break up a fight between neighbors who lived at this Mount Hope apartment complex. This is at least 2 violent incidents reported at apartment communities this week in San Diego, highlighting what the Southern California Rental Housing Association calls a growing, often underreported safety crisis.
In May, a landlord's daughter was murdered in Chula Vista. Investigators say her body was dismembered by a troubled tenant.
Because what happened in Chula Vista is every housing provider's worst nightmare.
That violence pushed Southern California Rental Housing Association to survey its members, and they found it wasn't isolated.
And we had 133 responses from members indicating that 65% of them have seen an increase in hostile and threatening behavior from tenants.
That also includes neighbor disputes, since property managers often have to step in and intervene. Now, according to the survey, verbal threats were the most common incident, happening in 93% of cases. A quarter turned physical. More than 3 in 4 said that they've dealt with threats, harassment, or violence on their properties in the last 5 years. Amelia Provencio has been in property management for 15 years in San Diego County.
Well, I've experienced more harassment, cursing, just feeling threatened when I'm either showing property or when I'm faced with tenants.
74% say legal delays slowed down removing a tenant who posed a safety risk.
So there does need to be some quicker process, if you will, for removing bad actors. But of course, everybody's entitled to due process. So what we really hope for is kind of opening up that dialogue.
I reached out to local state lawmakers. Assemblymember David Alvarez, a housing policy leader, told me in part, I appreciate SCRHA bringing this data forward, and I'm committed to working with housing providers, tenants, and community groups to find solutions that keep people safe without losing sight of the other housing challenges our region still needs to solve.
I would love to see us be more engaged with one another to be able to make this a safer place for all of us, tenants and housing providers.
Meanwhile, the association says it's now developing safety guidelines for rental properties because of this survey. Abby Black, News 8.
New data is showing a drop in homelessness for more than half of the counties in California that did a point-in-time count this year. That's according to a new report by CalMatters. Here in San Diego County, we saw a 1% drop in homelessness from 2025 to 2026. Meanwhile, LA County saw homelessness grow by 1.2%. The biggest increases for a single county was Napa at 14.4%. Meanwhile, the single county that reported the biggest drop was Nevada at 15.5%. Governor Newsom joined state leaders and officials from Invest America today to highlight a new milestone, helping California families stack their savings for their kids' futures. The effort takes the state's Baby Bonds program, which gives every child born here $100 and combines it with the new federal Trump accounts worth $1,500 each.
We're here to encourage people to take advantage of this, to not fall prey to the politics or the cynicism or maybe even the fear that if I download a Trump account, somehow that means something. It doesn't. It just means something for your kid. It's not Trump's money. It's your child's money.
Newsom says thousands of dollars are now available for families who sign up. Since California's first in the nation replacement tire regulation was approved this week, there's been fierce backlash, including calls for the State Energy Commission to resign.
News 8 State Matters political reporter Jenny Ha has been tracking the updates and has the latest for us.
If they had to face the voters in November, they'd be thrown out. They're tone deaf.
Many Californians are not happy about a new state regulation over replacement tires. Starting in 2029, all replacement tires sold for passenger vehicles and light-duty trucks in California must have the same fuel efficiency as the original tires with which you drive off the lot, meaning they must be designed to offer the same mileage and range and help you save on gas. Including Republican State Senator Tony Strickland, who is vice chair of the Senate Transportation Committee. Strickland is calling on all 5 members of the California Energy Commission who unanimously approved the regulation to resign.
There's no recourse, there's no representation whatsoever.
In his letter to the CEC, Strickland writes, quote, "As unelected and unaccountable political appointees, you should not be passing onerous policies that ultimately hit families in their wallets." All 5 commissioners are appointed by the governor. California voters have no input.
The technology to build those tires is a lot higher, so it will hurt every consumer.
We'll absorb the minimal we can, but everything will go down to the consumer.
Local tire businesses warn prices will rise, as do some tire manufacturers, including Goodyear.
Quite simply, this regulation is not ready for adoption. The sudden rush to pass this regulation as drafted will hurt consumers, drive up costs, and simply flood the state with used tires.
But the CEC disputes these concerns, telling media they want to, quote, correct the record. First, is California banning 70% of its tires? That's an estimate a spokesperson for Goodyear says they got from data the CEC has published. But the CEC says it disagrees and notes existing inventory can still be sold even after the mandate takes effect. Second, does the regulation limit consumer choice over tires? Well, technically, yes, but the CEC says it disagrees, saying the point of the regulation is to give Californians a bigger option of better performing tires. And third, will the regulation cost Californians hundreds of dollars? That's another estimate by Goodyear and other tire companies. The CEC disagrees, saying it stands by its estimate. The regulation will cost $6 more for a set of tires in Phase 1 and $26 more in Phase 2. Jenny Ha, News 8.
None of the 5 CEC commissioners were available for an interview for this story. In the meantime, Governor Gavin Newsom says he supports the new regulation, saying the return on investment seems good. A little setback for the team from Bonita today, losing their first game in the Little League World Series tournament.
It's okay, it's okay. The game finished on a dramatic note. With the bases loaded and a full count, Iowa's pitcher struck out the last batter from Sweetwater Valley to win the game 1-0. They're a good team. Iowa pitched a combined no-hitter against Sweetwater Valley, but Sweetwater still has a chance to make it back to the championship game. They'll face Alabama tomorrow. If Sweetwater Valley wins 6 straight games, they will take on the winner of the international bracket for a chance to play in the championship.
We wish them luck.
Yes, we do.
Officials from Egypt are here in Southern California for what they are calling a cultural win.
Still ahead, we are sharing a look at the dozens of the looted artifacts the FBI is now returning to their rightful owner.
Plus, the biggest female surfing competition in the world happening right now in Oceanside. We'll have more on that and the efforts to get more women catching waves.
And when we look at our cams, we are seeing a lot of clouds that are out there. A big swath of moisture is going to continue to move in, at least going into tonight. Not necessarily seeing a very active radar, just a lot of cloud cover, but less of that humidity into next week, but more of the heat. We'll take a look at your complete forecast coming up.